everyone, welcome to a very special Citrico Central. I got my boy OG, as always. Great to see him on here, but we also have a special guest. For the first time on Citrico Central, we have the dude, but not just any dude, Drew, the Disney dude. How you
Hello.
doing, fella?
It's funny. I'm talking to you guys, but we're on like a different channel, so it's like the same conversation. We're just on a different channel. So let's do this.
Yep,
Let's do
and that's
it.
how we do it, man. Like we could go to Planet Mars, have the same conversation.
Yeah, it's somehow gonna end up near like a James Cameron level movie. So
Of course, yes. So I thought for this episode of Citrico Central, we would kind of recap all the news that's been talked about this past week, which is very interesting that they would release all this just amidst of Destination D23, because when they finally released the schedule for Destination D, a lot of people were surprised and taken aback that there was a very much of a lackluster in like no parks panel, and it was just kind of being trickled in through the daily like other activities, so to speak. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, maybe they'll surprise us with some stuff, but as Disney always does, they release a whole bunch of information before the event even starts, and it's like, okay, well, the very little that they could give us, that they just like throw at us. But again, I still have high hopes and optimistic that they still can release some stuff, and we will talk about our last minute thoughts, opinions, and predictions before the event comes at the time of this recording next weekend. But so kind of kicking it off, I'm going to bring up this article really quick from the GOAT himself, Mr. Scott Gustin.
that's the man right there.
There he is.
So let me see. Why is it like? Oh, there it goes. Okay. So a recap of Walt Disney World updates and a look ahead to Destination D23. So it kind of starts off here with the Zootopia Better Zootopia, which is like my top thing that I've been waiting for all freaking year. But so yeah, well, yeah, Disney announced the new 4D show will officially open November 7th, 2025 at Disney's Animal Kingdom. It replaced It's Tough to Be a Bug. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it, because at the gate, when they made this announcement, when Bruce Vaughn came on stage, everyone was anticipating Zootopia coming to Walt Disney World, primarily Animal Kingdom, but it ended up throwing a curveball because we all thought it was going to be an attraction or a land, which we did get somewhat of an attraction, but not everything that we thought. And it was just going to be a 4D show replacing the existing one in the Tree of Life. But Drew, I'll start with you. Zootopia Better Together, thoughts, opinions, and does this surprise you on the opening time? Do you think they kind of stuck to the time date that they promised?
I'm all for this show, honestly, just because like it's being written by Jared Bush, the CCO of Walt Disney Animation Studios. All the animations being directed in-house by Byron Howard with actual Walt Disney Animation Studios animators who worked on Zootopia and Zootopia 2. Just the fact that kids didn't like It's Tough to Be a Bug, and kids are going to love this show. And it's almost like, I think I've been kind of saying, a short film in Animal Kingdom, if that makes sense, where it's just like a 9-10 minute experience where you go and you see these characters in this original story, and then you're out doing your next thing. But I think it is opening a little bit earlier than I thought, which I'm not complaining by any means. It's the first Friday of November, so I probably should have seen that coming, but I was expecting it to open on the same day as the movie, but they're doing it before. So in previews, we're gonna see the show before November 7th. It'll be fully revealed well before then. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And just like the little bonus edition of the meet and greet in their outfits is a fun little thing too.
I mean, I'll definitely have like an optimistic mind going into it. I think for me, it just kind of feels lost in translation of that A Bug's Life fits more into the Tree of Life rather than a bunch of walking, talking animals wearing clothes, driving cop cars. I'm still trying to wrap my head how they're going to do the storyline, but we'll just have to wait and see. Before I move over to OG, Drew, your thoughts on just the overall aspects of like why Disney continues to do this, where they keep dropping the news, which is good. I'm glad we're getting news. I'm glad that we're getting a whole bunch out of the parks. But why do it right before a major event, and an event that actually had some bleak panels for the parks to begin with?
Yeah, I think my gut feeling is that Disney's PR team, the ones that kind of made this decision on what to announce at this little media event, I think they found out that there wasn't going to be a parks panel because there's separate comms teams for D23 and the corporate side of the company versus Disney Parks and Experiences, all the cruise line stuff. So I think their thought process was, hey, we just found out internally, before we knew that Beacon Barrel was going to be done sooner. So let's tie something into the Beacon Barrel, and that's where this event was kind of born. I think because there's no D23 thing, it really made them think, hey, how can we get some stuff out there to give them something, knowing that nothing's coming at D23 that's groundbreaking, like a new ride or Figment, for example, which isn't happening, as we all know by now. So I think they kind of just said, hey, what's the best that we can do with Walt Disney World, because Disneyland doesn't really have like any big thing to tie into a media event. And I think they also kind of want to give Disneyland its little spotlight at D23, maybe during that presentation where they're kind of talking about the past 70 years. And I think they're going to talk about the future a little bit in that presentation, if I had to guess. So I just think it was a recipe of Disney saying, hey, we need to give them something because we're not going to have a presentation. And they knew the entire time. We didn't know until recently, and this was their plan all along.
All right. OG, your thoughts?
Yeah, okay. I have a couple thoughts on this. I know that Joe Rohde didn't want this franchise in the park, right? But I think what he didn't want was like a full land, because his concern, I think most of it was the aesthetics of that kind of land wouldn't really go with the natural kind of organic feel of this park, right? Because Animal Kingdom feels very weathered, feels very organic with a lot of lush greenery and what have you. And then to add a very colorful, plasticky land, I feel like Joe Rohde felt like maybe that wouldn't really work. But Joe Rohde is back now as a consultant. So I wonder if this show was sort of like a compromise that Disney and Joe Rohde kind of came to. Like, okay, we won't build the full land, but can we maybe do a show in the Tree of Life, right? So I think this might be that. I mean, I'm just speculating, though. I don't really know. I don't have any facts on that or anything like that. I'm just guessing. The other thing, too, I see what you're saying, George, in terms of like the cop cars in the tree and all that. I'm willing to wait, though, because I agree with you. That would feel kind of weird, but I'm willing to wait because I feel like this is sort of like the Avatar at DCA kind of situation where depending on the show and the story, I don't really know the story. I don't know if that's been announced yet, like the storyline. It might work, though. Like if they're chasing like I don't know, like a gopher who's a bad guy, being in the tree might make sense, right? They're going under the tree to get the bad guy gopher. Okay, in that context, hey, this actually makes sense. They all have to crawl under the tree to get this guy, right? So in that kind of context, or if there's something similar to that, I can kind of see it working. I'm kind of giving it a wait and see sort of thing. But I do agree with you, George. It might seem a little weird, but Jared Bush is really smart. We'll see how he kind of ties it all together. I think really the context and how they kind of weave the story in with the Tree of Life is really going to make or break it for me, So we'll see.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. Jared Bush, I think, has been killing it lately with the Disney animation, and also looking into the future of Disney animation and how to incorporate it into the parks themselves. And as much as, like the initial concept, I was a bit taken back. And again, I'm still a little bit optimistic about it. But you had mentioned about Avatar DCA, but I also think that this is a situation like Avatar at Animal Kingdom. When they first made the announcement in 2011, I'm like, how in the world is Avatar going to fit in Animal Kingdom? But yet it works. It's the best land for me, anyways, in the park. And it gave it more life. It gave it more, attraction, and for people to actually spend more time in Animal Kingdom. I hope that this is the case. Although I will say, the change up for Nick Wilde's costume, he definitely has that look on his face like he had a really good time the night before.
Yeah, he does. It's the eyes, right? Another thing, too, is the fur looks like higher quality. I don't know if it is or isn't, right? It looks better. The coloring and everything looks better.
And I have to say, now looking at the face, like a little more than just like taking a glance at it, you're right. I feel like it's a little more detailed to how like a fox really would look of how his character would look in real life. Yeah, I feel like that the fur is more fine. It's more complex in detail. I love how they kind of give him a facial expression instead of having that deadpan like look on his face. But I'm digging the new costumes of to represent for Zootopia 2, and now that they actually have a permanent home in Animal Kingdom, we're definitely going to be seeing them around the park a lot for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm curious too if DCA will get these new costumes, because we have the meet and greet over there in Bathroom Row. So I'm curious to see if we get the new costumes. Go ahead, Drew. I'm sorry, brother.
No, you're good. I was just going to say that I think the solution they found to why are we at the Tree of Life is this is kind of like where we're going to watch this live stream. And I don't think many people have picked up on it, but even like in the poster, you can see here in Scott's Substack article, this new character, Heidi Howler, is like the host of the Zootopia Day live stream. And we are going and we're just watching the live stream as all this celebration happens within Zootopia. So we're not physically visiting Zootopia by going under the Tree of Life. We're watching a live stream of what's happening in Zootopia. So we're just there spectating what's happening. And I think that's how they're going to get away with it, as it's just us kind of watching in the celebration take place. As if we were watching, for us, as we're watching on our TVs, New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest, right? It's kind of Zootopia's version of that. And I think that's their way of getting away with it. So I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, that's really smart, actually. That's actually really, really smart. That's a really, really clever workaround. And see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, the context for these things really do matter. And with that live stream kind of approach, that angle, you could have the cop cars. You could have all that stuff because, again, it's just a live stream, right? So it works like that.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sorry, George, I'll let you go in one sec, but just like how that's another way to get us into these different biomes, right? Like they mentioned there's like 4 main biomes we're going to go to, all the main ones, and then we have the new Marsh Market from Zootopia 2. So the fact that you could bounce around the city so quickly will only be possible in 9 minutes by cutting cameras to different parts of Zootopia. So it's I think it's a pretty smart way to get us around to these worlds from the first movie and the second movie. And also just like a new character is cool. Like I hope the voice actor does a good job with that performance. So I think it'll be fun. Just again, this isn't really designed for like us. It's more of like kids need the show and parents getting their kids out of the sun. So I'm all for it. But yeah, George, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, from what you just described, see, now that would make more sense, and I would be okay with that. I think my biggest thing was literally you're in Animal Kingdom, you walk into the Tree of Life, and then boom, you're in Zootopia. Like, for me, I think that would be the more unrealistic approach. But yeah, if it's like a live feed where you're connecting the human world into Zootopia, and then all this wacky stuff happens around you with the live feed.
Yep.
That's genius. And again, that comes from Jared Bush, again, because he's a great creative storyteller in his own right.
And that's right. And that's why, real quick, George, I just want to say too, that's why it's very important. I've been saying it for a long, long time now with Pandora. This is the kind of creative workarounds you can do. And so that's why I have an open mind with Pandora and DCA, because we don't know that workaround. How are they going to give us that context of how it's going to mesh with the surrounding area, with the park in general? There could be, and you're dealing with James Cameron, really bright creative, you know what I'm saying? They can come up with just about anything with that. So that's why I'm optimistic with that. But I just wanted to say, because I felt like this was sort of a small scale version of kind of what they had to work with compared to that of Zootopia. I mean, of Pandora, right? It's like they took this problem of like, how do we get this world in the tree? They came up with a cool solution. I'm pretty confident they're going to do the same thing with Pandora and how to get that into DCA,
Very much so. Now, before I move on to the next one, OG, I want to ask you the same question I asked Drew. What is your overall take on Disney's approach with announcing all this stuff prior to an event? Because they also did this too when they announced the upgrade to Toontown over here at Disneyland.
Yeah, I was in the room when that got announced.
So it's like they always seem to do that. Like, is that a just Disney, like a PR stunt, like they're not just paying attention, or do you think there's a strategy behind it?
Oh, there's definitely a strategy. There's nothing, I think when it comes to these drops, it's not like, I think it's very strategic. Disney's a big company. They definitely map this stuff out, but like, I think that they have probably like a certain kind of narrative or a certain kind of direction they want to go with a lot of these conventions and events. And sometimes these little announcements don't really fit with what they want to do with these big events, right? So maybe for Destination D, it looks like it's very much a kind of more of a studio heavy event, right?
Yep.
So maybe they just felt, hey, you know what? These little park news tidbits don't really work with what we're going for this year with Destination D. So we'll leak it like a week or two before, just as a regular announcement, you know? I mean, personally, as a real big park person, I would love to have like a parks panel at Destination D and have all this stuff dropped at that big event, you know? But I just don't see it this year. I think the focus is different this year with this. I think it's a studio thing, which George, you've said actually usually it is, I guess. And I just feel like these park announcements don't really fit with what they're trying to do with this event. And so it's being released now.
All right. Well said.
Yeah.
Now, moving down to this one caught me off guard because this one actually was the most recent one that they dropped. Actually, it was during my birthday party that we had at the timeshare when we all, saw this happening. And going over to Magic Kingdom for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, this ride has been down for quite some time, and it still has some time, to go. But coming from Disney, now we can see why. Because I was under the impression, replace the track, we just get the same kind of effects and specialties that Disneyland has with Big Thunder, which I'm assuming we are going to get. But it seems like we're even going to get even more with that. And Scott says Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at Walt Disney World will reopen in 2026 following a major refurbishment and track replacement. Disney shared news story details expanding on the attraction's backstory centered on Barnabas T. Bullion and the Gold Rush era. Let's see. The refurbishment includes a new rainbow cavern sequence with phosphorant pools, glowing stalagmite. They giving me holy crap! Like
Stalagmite. Yeah.
Stalagmites, yeah. And so anyway, so all this I think honestly is really cool. And right off the bat, when I looked at the concept art that's showing up here, because already Big Thunder has a backstory of kind of like this runaway ghost mine train. And when I was hearing about this, and it makes me wonder that, they're tying it a little bit to the Cars themed area when it eventually opens. But I also wonder if they're throwing in a little hint that would work adjacent to the Villains Land as well. But Drew, overall thoughts on Big Thunder?
Yeah, I'm all for this. I think it's gonna be really cool to hear like that crack of thunder and lightning change this right in front of our eyes. And I hope it happens as we're going up the lift hill, kind of like about to go right over the hill and then out of there, kind of as like a way to make that lift hill part of the story that we never had before. Like it was just there, we're going up the lift hill, but now it's almost serving as our escape away from the bats and the mountain reacting to us being there, as it's not happy about all of the people trying to steal its gold, essentially. And also just the fact that this isn't all we're going to get for Big Thunder Mountain. I know for a fact there's more reveals to come. I mean, Disney teased it themselves, but someone who told me that we were getting this reveal said, yeah, there's more to come. So I don't know if it's going to be identical to Disneyland's or if it's going to be a unique scene. My hope is that they take that dynamite explosion, kind of like it collapsing in, but expand on it to this story. And what I hope is that we see a giant cart of gold at the top, and that's what Barnabas is trying to get. But then it knows we're there, and the dynamite sets off, and then we have to go out, and then that's our escape again. So it almost seems like it's kind of like a back and forth between the rider trying to get the gold and us, and the mountain not liking that, which then makes us leave. So it's fun, and it just puts life into this ride for like the next 30 years, which is perfect because, like you guys mentioned, we're going to have 4 major attractions like right next door. And all of that's being connected to Cars, like with the style of like the rock work and the geysers and everything's all connected. Even like the water from Tiana's, like the drop, the 50-foot drop, and all that water is connected. So yeah, it's there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than we realize, and I just hope that the other reveal we get is that finale scene is unique to Walt Disney World, and that's why this is taking a while, because it's not just a copy and paste from Disneyland.
And I have to say too, before I move over to OG, and I do agree with you on all that, I just have to give just a little bit of a rant, just a little bit of my 2 cents with all this. And I have to say, where a lot of people, a lot of fans in the Disney community, complain that Disney doesn't come up with originality, and it's all about the IPs, and they don't come up with their own storylines. Well, they just did.
Yeah.
So I mean, Disney still has the capability of doing so when it is appropriate, and I think this kind of original storyline, fits well with Big Thunder, and it's all about the balancing of doing that, but also still adding IP into the park. But OG, overall thoughts, Big Thunder.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. This is exactly what they needed to do with Big Thunder at Walt Disney World, right? The one that we have out here at Disneyland, the additions, the upgrades were amazing, and they fit seamlessly into that attraction, where now it just seems super normal, right? I can't picture it without it. So I love what you guys are getting over there at Magic Kingdom. Disney has shown, in my opinion, a really good knack for taking classic attractions, not changing them necessarily, but just plussing them. Like, we got plussing of the Snow White attraction out here in California, and it turned out gorgeous, absolutely beautiful with new technology. It's more mixed media now, with like projections and all that stuff. Even our Alice in Wonderland got that same treatment, a little while ago. Beautiful job there. Obviously, our Big Thunder got enhancements with more mixed media. I think Disney, when they go in there with these classic attractions and they utilize new technology, and you're not altering the ride a whole lot, but you're just sort of polishing it up. You're kind of giving it a little oomph, a little extra, right? I think Disney's really good at that, and I'm really hopeful about this. I think this is going to turn out really fantastic. So yeah, I love it, man. I really do. What's interesting, though, it says here the storyline highlights mining accidents, machine failures, and supernatural elements tied to the forces of Big Thunder. So that's interesting, George, because you brought that up with like the whole Villains Land thing, right?
Right.
So it's like this supernatural kind of thing in this mountain. They're really leaning into that, which I think is pretty dope. And like you said, with Villains Land next door, it's a good little segue, right? It's not villains necessarily, but it kind of gets you in the mood, so to speak, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we still don't even know really like how, I mean, we get like an idea just like with the one piece of concept art from Villains Land, but I mean, you can kind of see, maybe depending on the architectural design that they do go with for Villains, of how like they can get, transition, into, from, the Cars area for Big Thunder, over by Haunted Mansion, moving into Villains that would then connect to Fantasyland, sort of like how they transition out here from Frontierland into Galaxy's Edge. The rock is just seamless.
Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great point. The rock work of Big Thunder is going to, as we all know, seamlessly kind of blend with parts of the Cars area. But, Chris, like you mentioned, having that more ominous, tragic tone of the storyline with Big Thunder Mountain could fit perfectly with Villains. So I don't know. I just think that there's always so much more thought going on behind the scenes. And even George, like you said, everyone's like, Imagineering is creatively bankrupt. I'm like, they're not creatively bankrupt. They just need a freaking budget, man. Like, and that's something that I'll always talk about that I don't think a lot of people think about. But for example, when this IP mandate comes in and they say, yeah, we're putting Cars in Magic Kingdom, we're putting Villains next door, we're taking out Muppet Vision, we're putting Monsters Inc. in. Well, those Imagineers have no say in that. They're just like, this is your next project. Good luck. Come pitch us ideas, and then we sign off on it. And whenever that happens, that literally forces creativity. Like, the Imagineers were created in the sense that they're putting a national park in Magic Kingdom and saying, oh, hey, we're going to attach Cars to this. It's not just Radiator Springs. It's not just Radiator Springs plopped in the middle of Frontierland. It's a national park in Frontierland. Yeah. And part of me thinks that Disney would have been a lot more successful with this if they would have just said, yeah, we're putting a national park in Magic Kingdom, and this attracted Lightning McQueen and Mater to go outside of Radiator Springs and discover this new settlement that was developed outside of Radiator Springs. Like, I think sometimes they shoot themselves in the foot. Even last year with Tiana's Bayou Adventure and how that was handled, and the whole POV debacle. And I don't know, like Cards in Frontierland doesn't sound cool, but if you say National Park in Villains Land in Magic Kingdom, 15-acre transformation, and we're going to put some of our beloved characters here, I think it sounds a lot better. So, yeah, I don't know. Disney's not creatively bankrupt. They just have to fit within this little box that they're told to work within. And they're, in my opinion, doing everything they can, and I think that's being led by Bruce Fall.
Well, and you know what, Drew? I completely agree with you. And I think it's when I hear a lot of fans talk about that, like Imagineers nowadays, they have no creativity, right? I think that argument is intellectually lazy, so to speak, because when you look at like what Imagineering, like you were saying, what they can do when they are given freedom and a proper budget. Look at what they're doing over there in Tokyo. I mean, Fancy Springs is such a treasure. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that is amazing. I mean, current Imagineering is still doing some great stuff. Look at Zootopia over there in Shanghai. I mean, people when people say Disney's creatively bankrupt or Imagineering is creatively bankrupt, do they not realize that these great projects overseas are done by the Imagineers in Glendale? Like, these are literally the same people designing this stuff. Like, so for me, it's intellectually lazy when people just kind of say that, because I think people just use that like a knee-jerk reaction because they hear other people saying that. But when you really think about it, we have a great team right now, and they just need the creative freedom and the money to kind of do it right. A lot of times with the domestic parks, they're really handcuffed, and that's the main problem. It's not the creatives; it's
Epcot. I'm sorry. Keep going.
100%, Drew. 100%. Thank you. That's a perfect example. You know what I'm saying?
Community core. Oh man, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Oh, and the lights and all that stuff. I mean, they still can't get that stuff settled, you know, and there's no excuse for that.
It is a shame though, because again, we do know like what Disney is capable of doing. We know what the Imagineers are capable of doing. But when we get something like what was going to be the new transformation of Epcot, it's like, and you know, still going through those issues. I think Epcot is like one of those things. Well, I don't want to say the whole entire park of Epcot. I would say the future world side of Epcot, which is not future world anymore. It's these like neighborhood world nature and world discover and all that. I feel like that part of Epcot is always going to be the issue, which I think that's why we're still seeing a lot of issues with Tomorrowland. It always seems like when it comes down to when something was designed by Disney that we were supposed to look into the future, it just seems like, and now the future is here. And it's like, well, now what do we do? Because especially now with technology, it's moving at a rapid pace with AI and digital media and gaming. The parks are never going to keep up in that way that they used to in the 70s and the 80s.
Right. No, 100%. Technology moves way too fast now. And the other thing too is as mishmashy and underwhelming the Epcot stuff was, I'm not so worried about future projects kind of having the same fate, because I feel like that was a perfect storm of bad situations coming together, right? Yeah. We had the Pandy, we had Bob Chapek, we had all kinds of management changes at that time. A lot of Imagineers left, right, because of Lake Nona and what have you. So it was like that perfect storm of like bad stuff happening, but we don't have that anymore. Like a lot of these Imagineers are coming back, you know. Bob Iger is back, which I think overall, I think he's pretty good with creatives. I think the creative community does like him, and he gives them enough room to kind of do their job. I just don't see there being a repeat of the Epcot thing. Unfortunately, I love Epcot. It's one of my favorite parks at Walt Disney World, and it saddens me that a lot of that stuff was really like shortchanged. But it is what it is. But it was a one-time thing. I don't think it's indicative of what's going to happen going forward. Go ahead, George.
Well, and I think Iger is setting up everything like before he makes his departure for the 15th time in the company history. But pretty much, like joking aside, you know, this is it, you know, and he wants to have his legacy continue on and not be tarnished of the events that happened in 2020. And being that he's going to pass the torch down to somebody new for CEO, whether it is
Josh tomorrow.
Yeah, there is. It's going to be Josh. I'm pretty confident. I'd be really surprised if it wasn't at this point.
I'm sorry, George. I cut you off.
No, you're good. No, actually, you actually said it right. I was about to say tomorrow. But I feel like he's trying to like put up the building blocks and have it ready for, you know, when Josh or whoever steps into the role, they can kind of feed off of what, you know, Iger left, you know, and that way they can see how to continue. So the events that happened prior, that the company doesn't get Bob Chapek again, sort of, you know.
Yeah, and it's George, I 100% agree, and Chris, I agree with everything you said too. And I know I say it every single time I talk to you guys, but I love talking to you guys because I'm just nodding my head the entire time. And in the few times we have disagreed, there's a valid reason why. Like you guys can actually back up your opinions, right? Which is shockingly rare these days. I had someone in my YouTube comments the other day say I give very little of substance, but every single time I say something, I back it up, right? This is what we're dealing with online. But yeah, no, just to add on to your comments, George. Something that I've considered making a YouTube video about, like I just don't know how to title it, but I think a lot of people think that this whole I hate the word turbocharge. Like it drives me insane. Like just shut up. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear the word turbocharge anymore. Like they're spending the money. We're seeing the construction. I have seen enough. We're good. Everything's going to be fine going forward. I'm not talking about the past because like we talked about, Epcot's a mess, but this whole turbocharging thing, there's that word again, was led by Bob Iger. It was not led by Josh D'Amaro, though Josh D'Amaro did have a significant hand in getting Bob Iger to say, we need to do this. And that's because there was a Q&A with Josh D'Amaro, and he kind of opened up, which I hate to say, like, it's surprising to hear an executive open up because I feel like sometimes they're so PR trained to not say anything. Because, like, they say one little thing and someone writes an article and, God, like, the company can't afford that, you know? Especially Josh, like the man's trying to get a once-in-a-lifetime job. Like only a few people have ever been the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, nonetheless. And Josh D'Amaro was saying how immediately when Bob Iger came back, Josh D'Amaro took a giant notebook with the entire report of everything going on at the parks segment, including the parks, cruise line, all the stuff, right? And Iger came back to Josh saying, we need to go into the parks business. So I think Josh had wanted to do that, but he was handcuffed by Chapek because there was even rumors about, you know, Josh leaving the company back when Chapek was still CEO, and he just couldn't do a lot. And I think that's quite honestly why Josh started to lean into the blue sky conversations, because that's all he had. I think that was a Josh move as saying, what can I talk about to give our fans some optimism? Well, I have no money right now. And then everything changed when Iger came back because he was the one who gave them that money, got the board of directors to sign off on the $60 billion. And sure enough, look what happens immediately. Bruce Vaughn comes back. We have mentors coming back. We have 14 rides announced. We have 6 new lanes announced. Sorry if you guys can hear my dog barking, by the way. He's going through his nighttime playtime mood. Dustin.
Oh.
But yeah, there's all these things line up. And if you look at the story lines up right now. And when I'm seeing the story line up from, you know, late 2022 when Iger came back to early 2023 when Bruce Vaughn came back to Destination D23 when we got Moana and Zootopia out and the Tropical Americas in with an original story. That was the immediate impact of Bruce Vaughn. And then a year later, we have D23 last year. And now we're seeing all of this stuff actually move. The dirt's moving, the steel's going up. So I have a lot of optimism. But when I see people say I'm not optimistic, I'm still concerned, I don't blame them because they don't see what I see and they don't see what you guys see, right? We're seeing all of these stories and these interviews and these articles and these angles, which all lines up. But the people online who are like, well, I don't have faith in Disney right now, well, I can't blame them. And that's why I'm never going to speak negatively about these people, because they just don't have that information that we have. And even if they did and they were still cautious, I wouldn't blame them at all, because what we saw a few years ago. So I don't know. I just think having an open mind with this stuff can go a long way, because people are so quick to attack. And it's like, well, there's a reason that person's saying something. And if you understand why they're coming from that perspective, I think you're going to get along with them a lot more.
That's fair. I love that, Drew. And the other thing too, that you know, for years and years and years, people were giving Disney a lot of heat for building very slow, which that's an honest critique, right? Because they love to spread it out over multiple fiscal periods and all that. Right? You know, it takes 7 years to build Tron, the whole thing. But right now, I mean, people got to give Disney some credit here. We got Coco. The timeline for that construction for Coco boat ride at DCA went up. Like it's starting sooner than it was supposed to. We were just at Disney a few days ago, George and I at DCA, and this Avengers building. I mean, it's massive already. I mean, they are really moving on that thing. So for all of Disney's flaws and for all of their past foot dragging, right? They are actually kind of moving and shaking right now. At least what I've seen out here in California. I haven't been to Florida in a couple of years, but
No, it's the same way out here too. Yeah.
right. I mean, credit where it's due. I mean, if we definitely as a community is healthy to critique, but when they do right, we also got to give them the applause for that because we want to encourage more of that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say we need to give them the feedback where it's to where they can improve. But once they accept that feedback and improve, then you just say, hey, you're going down the right track right now. And that doesn't fit this narrative on Twitter. So you're never going to see that. But I think that Disney's internal data from like guest satisfaction rankings right now is kind of what they're going to use going forward. And even to the point recently, they released an article on the Disney Experiences website, like this main website with all of their experiences. And it's kind of like a general press room that not a lot of people know about. But they had a survey commission and there was like 3,500 families and they still said they prefer a Disney vacation over anyone else.
Wow.
And sure, it's like a majority could be something like 60%, but I think it's probably more like 70-30, But even if they're still taking 70% of the market share, like that's still going to draw the large family crowds, which Disney is known for with how many, unique offerings they have. And we're just seeing more of that going forward. Like, even in the tropical Americas out here, you have Indiana Jones, which is more of that thrilling, not necessarily like a kid's experience, but right next door you have a carousel, a playground, and Encanto, which is all for kids. And then, out in California, you have like Stark Fly Lab and Infinity Defense, like you mentioned, which isn't for kids. But then you have Coco, which is very much for kids. So it's this balance of not just like which IPs make sense from a financial standpoint, which Josh also talked about. They're getting a 3-time ROI right now. So if they're spending $60 billion gross, then they're expecting $180 billion gross over a decade, which $180 billion. Like, come on, that's absurd.
That's crazy.
Again, it's not just the IP. It's a matter of what IP fits for families and which IP fits for thrills when we need those. And balancing, there's so much to this puzzle. And that's why I'm so fascinated with it. And like in that little Imagineer, that episode with Bruce Ball, and the man just looks exhausted. Like you can just tell he's wiped. Like his hair's gray, his face, he's just not there. And I'm just like, man, that's sad because I love Bruce so much. And it's sad that even when he's like being pulled in 14 different directions and he's wiped, that he's still doing this content. He's still approving the series coming back, and they're still having fun. So I don't know. I applaud what they're doing right now, and I think that 5 years from now, I think we're going to be seeing that same Disney that we knew and love, where everything was just loved. And it's going to take some time to get there again. We might be seeing it now, but I think it's going to be another 4 years before people start to see it in general.
And that's the exciting. Oh, go ahead, bro.
Oh, I was just say real quick. Then I'll take it over to you, George. That's why, as much as I love Universal, I love going to Hollywood. I love going. Epic Universal looks really cool. I mean, Universal does a great product, but one of the weaknesses of that company, of that theme park brand, is that they still kind of lag behind Disney when it comes to like what you're talking about, Drew, with that variety, where you can bring your 8-year-old and your 88-year-old grandmother, and you all have stuff to do, right? I mean, I'm not a coaster guy. I'm not really like a super thrill junkie guy. So a lot of the Universal stuff is like, I don't know. I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, I can walk around, have a drink, but that's about it for a lot of this stuff, Now, to be fair, they are getting better with it, but Disney still has them beat on that. And I think that's why when you were saying that most people prefer that Disney vacation, I think that's a big reason why. Because you can bring your grandma, you can bring your grandparents, you can bring your little kid, you can bring your teenager, and everyone's got stuff to do. But go ahead, George.
I don't know. I think it would be kind of entertaining to see someone take their 92-year-old grandmother on the new Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift.
It would be their grandmother after that. They would no longer be alive.
Yes.
Yeah, no. We should have to ride with a medic or something. That thing looks insane. I think I'd have to ride with a medic.
Yeah, I am not going on that coaster. I'll be like, hey, George.
Yes.
What's up, George?
Like,
you look like you're having fun up there, buddy.
Yep. There's like we'll meet you at the exit gift shop.
No, I'll be waiting in the family room. Thank you very much.
But Drew, to your point, like that's the exciting thing now, because now that Disney is starting to get the gears turning again with all these projects, and this is just the first 5 years to the 10 years. So I'm very curious. I'm very optimistic. I'm very excited to see what is going to be the second half of this next upcoming decade. Even with Disneyland's, we're at the 70th, but we'll be moving into
75th. Yeah.
the 75th, and people are anticipating that the 75th is going to go bonkers.
They will.
Whatever they have. So I'm very excited for that. And before we move on, one last question to you both. It said it will reopen in 2026 for Big Thunder. Are you thinking early 2026, mid, or late?
Who do you want to go first?
When did it? Do we know when this started, Drew? Like, when did they start the
it was January 6th of this year.
January. Okay. I mean, I could see it like, I could see like, so I would say like spring of 2026. I mean, that gives it like a year or a little more to do these effects. I think that's fair. What say you, Drew?
Yeah, I'm thinking early March it'll be officially opening, because like we've seen them do a couple of those spring openings, like Runaway Railway was like the first week of March right before the pandemic. Part of me wonders though, like, I don't know. Part of me's going back and forth on like, because like all of these answers are in front of our eyes. You just have to put the puzzle pieces together. And I think it's kind of more Hollywood Studios, the writing's on the wall for like the magic of Disney Animation to open on the same day as The Mandalorian and Grogu on Smuggler's Run in May. I think they're going to work very quickly on that to have a big summer at studios. But at Magic Kingdom, like, well, could they get Buzz done by March? And Big Thunder could be done by March. So like in a perfect world, we could see Buzz reopen on the same day as Big Thunder. I don't know. My mind's going to March, and if we get lucky, we'll get both on the same day to get that capacity boost and like a big push before Cool Kids Summer comes back. But yeah, it'll be early 2026 for sure. They're moving quickly, and I wouldn't even be shocked if like sooner than later I could see trains from across where the Rivers of America used to be. But I'd be on like a 20-time zoom.
Nice. And speaking of the studios, the next piece is Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets. How original. So literally
ChatGPT could have never come up with that one.
No, never.
No, not even close. But I thought this was kind of interesting. Yeah, Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets will debut at Disney's Hollywood Studios in 2026. The attraction will feature Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem as the central performers. The music on the ride will feature Electric Mayhem performing covers of rock hits. Now that's interesting because maybe I lost it in translation. I'm kind of glad that they did go that route instead of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, like they were supposed to like team up with like celebrity performers, but I prefer this anyway, because I feel like by adding the actual performer, it becomes more meta to like who is who is more relevant in the time. And I think that would be a lot of change on. It would be really cool because in the original Muppet Show, they always teamed up with Hollywood icons and celebrities. That was always the Muppets shtick, Right. But the fact that they're letting Electric Mayhem cover the rock hits, and of course they'll do it in the zany, wacky Muppet fashion. But the pre-show will feature Scooter and two penguins as audio animatronic figures. I'm very excited for that. I'm so glad that they just didn't go all screens. They're incredible because even with Muppet Vision 3D, they added some audio animatronics, to it. So I'm so glad that they decided to add that into the feature. And then up also here at the right hand side, you can see the electric guitar, and it kind of gives off this more groovy psychedelic colors that I think we all were anticipating anyway that they were going to add to the facade.
Yeah, shout out to Scooter. He was my favorite character in Muppet Babies. I think he's amazing. So shout out to him. He's awesome. But here's the thing. This is actually, and I know a lot of my Muppet fans are going to get mad at me for saying this, but I mean, it's just how I feel. I think this was actually a brilliant compromise by Disney. I think Josh D'Amaro and the Experiences division did a really smart job here, because yes, it was sad to lose Muppet Vision. I mean, obviously that was Jim Henson's last work, but we're getting a Muppet for like actual attraction. It's not a 3D show; it's an actual ride, right? And I think if any attraction was to get a reskin, this is the one that you bring the Muppets in, because the Muppets are a very like you were saying, like George, like a very meta franchise already. Mm-hmm. And the way you can kind of overlay this is kind of perfect. Like you still keep the essence of the original attraction, but you're just kind of weaving in these great characters. So it's still the same ride you love, but it's better now because now you got the cool Muppets doing the whole thing, right? I love it. I think it's a perfect compromise yes, we're losing the courtyard, we're losing the Muppet Vision, but we're getting this really cool version of Rock and Roller Coaster with these great characters. So I'm all for it, and I'm really excited for it. So I think now my only concern, real quick, and then you take it over to Drew. My only concern, the ride is a little bit intense for it's not for everybody. So this is a family franchise. So it is a little bit of a crazy ride that is a little bit of a barrier to entry for a lot of people, I guess, to enjoy it. But other than that, I think it's a perfect fit. But yeah, that's what I think about it.
Yeah,
Right. Nice.
I feel like I don't have anything to add here. I fully agree about the fact that Muppet Vision was a family experience, whereas this is 0 to 60. So like you're losing that connection between families, and my camera just went purple. It almost went purple again, like it did last year.
I saw
It almost did it. I almost brought it back. That was the ghost of Muppet Vision saying, "I agree with you." But yeah, like
making you go full Figment.
there you go. But yeah, I'm like so pumped for this. I never really have a desire to go on Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, but like just the fact that the pre-show's gonna have 3 animatronics, I'd almost be like okay with just hopping in the single rider line, seeing the pre-show and be like, okay, I'm leaving. Like I love animatronics that much that I'm gonna be like, I want to see the penguins and I want to see like what they're doing with the programming, and like I wouldn't even be shocked if they do like unique programming with them to where they're not doing the exact same thing, but like maybe touching a button or turning a dial, or like kind of like how with Monsters Unchained, where like Frankenstein's monster waves to you, and maybe at the end here, Scooter is like, get out of here. Like there's some extra programming as like a little Easter egg for those people who pay attention, and that would kind of fit them up its humor. But yeah, I'm really excited for this one, and like you said, George, I think I'm more curious on their wording of teaming up with music stars, because like in a sense, having a cover is still teaming up with that star, because in the story, maybe the Electric Mayhem got permission from that star to play their cover. So like,
right.
They're still teaming up, but I think it was a little misleading if we're not getting them actually on ride. But like, I can't say I'm shocked by that, because it's a very cost-effective move to do covers rather than pay for the licensing or pay for an appearance. So this is a very cost-effective reimagining, and that's why when people are like, "That's all they're doing," it's like, what else were you expecting? It's a 90-second long coaster. You can't do much else here. The storyline works. Just change it to the Muppets. Like I don't like.
And Rock and Roller Coaster, I mean, aside from being themed to Aerosmith, it was still a very popular ride that people were getting in line for. I mean, there were times where it hit like 65, 70-minute wait. So the fact that it's going to get reimagined, rethemed, even if you're not a full-fledged fan of the Muppets, it's still something completely different, an experience that you have not seen yet. So, I mean, people are going to flock to this, but it does also make me wonder if this whole back courtyard area will eventually just become all Muppets, because right next door is the Villains Unfairly Ever After.
Unadmittedly Ever After.
Yeah, there you go. I agree with that. Which obviously is not going to be permanent. It swapped out with the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy, and I'm for sure something else will go in the place of that, especially once Villains comes into Magic Kingdom. I feel like they just kind of utilize that just to kind of like see where people's thought process is with the villains and how to like, can we put them in a musical number? Should we not? Should we, how can we do this? But I think honestly that show building could potentially become another Muppet themed attraction, maybe something for the little ones that can't go on Rock and Roller Coaster. It may not be exactly Muppet Vision 3D, but something along the lines of it. But what's your take on that, fellas?
Go ahead, Drew. I'll start with you.
Yeah, this is the when I think about like what everyone's been talking about with the Muppets coming into that theater eventually, it's like the Sunset Showcase has always been designed as a flex space, even if people don't realize it. And I think the Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy just lasted longer than they'd hoped because of the pandemic. I think that was going to go one way or another, and it just kind of happened to be there for 2018 to 2024. I don't think that was ever the original plan. Also, just with Cars coming to Magic Kingdom, it's like that's a free animatronic that we can just swipe and take it down the road and plop it in. So they already have an animatronic on the board for Piston Peak, but it's such an easy thing to do, and it's such a cost-effective thing to do to put the Muppets in that Sunset Showcase theater that it feels inevitable. Like this is one of those fan theories that it's like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen. And kind of like I think about like Happily Ever After coming back too, how it was so easy for them to bring back Happily Ever After, and it was a PR win because it looks like they're listening to the guests.
Right.
Whereas if you wait like 3 or 4 years, then the people are going to be missing Muppet Vision a lot more in a couple of years compared to now. So the longer they wait, the better they look.
Mhm.
And it allows Villains to have its run because they worked on that show for 2 years. Like the people that worked on Villains deserve to have their work seen by a few million people. So that's why I hope it still stays for a couple of years. And also keeping that gap as short as possible between when that show goes, if it goes, and when Villains Land opens, hopefully in late 2029. So yeah, it's this is one of those things that I feel like it's right in front of our eyes, and everyone's on top of it. It's just a matter of when do they announce it, and I think that'll probably be like 2027 maybe, if not sooner. But yeah, it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when.
You know, I mean, it's Disney loves to kind of do that. You know,
Yep.
bring old stuff back. We've had the main Charlotte Parade come back so many times, and it's a huge hit every time it does. You know, they bring Soarin' Over California back seasonally, right? Every so often. So yeah, bringing Muppet Vision back to like what the Sunset Theater, I could see that absolutely happening. They should do it. It's really smart. Like you said, Drew, give a few years, you know, let people miss it, let people kind of, you know, pine for it. And then when it does come back, you know, it's going to be a huge hit. So yeah. Now here's the thing too. Yeah. We have this amazing film in Muppet Vision that was Jim Henson's last piece of work, which like, a lot of people are upset over that, and I think a lot of people fear that it's never going to be seen again. I don't have that same fear. Disney's already said that it is going to come back, or it's going to live on in some way, right?
Yep.
So it's going to be around still, and they're going to want to. They know how beloved it is. They're going to trot it out some way, somehow, you know, whether it be the Sunset Theater or something else. So this thing will absolutely live on. You know, for years and decades to come. It might not be a mainstay necessarily like it was before. It might be like maybe for a year or something, and it leaves and comes back. But yeah, it'll make its rounds. I'm certain of it. It's an easy thing to kind of do. I mean, it's like a film attraction, a 3D thing. It's not like something that's super hard to like plug and play. You know, so it's definitely going to happen.
I even think there's potential to do Halloween and Christmas versions and Thanksgiving things and like additions to the Muppet Vision attraction, because right now it's not here. So like they would have time to kind of go back to the drawing board and how could they enhance Muppet Vision without people being, oh, you're disrespecting Jim Henson's legacy, by keeping the show the same, but maybe adding new props to the holidays or doing something for an after hours event to make it kind of stand on its own again, for Disney to give even more of a reason to bring it back in person, you know, rather than slapping it in Fortnite and calling it Fortnite Vision 3D, which I think they're going to do. But yeah, there's so much potential here, and I think the main reason I hope it comes back, even more than like me wanting it, because I never loved Muppet Vision, I've been very open about that, is just like we've talked about, kids like it. You know, kids can enjoy it. To the point that when I was at Hollywood Studios, first week of June, kind of saying goodbye to it, a lot of the time I was just looking around me, seeing who was laughing, and it was always the families, and that's been lost, and we need that back.
We do, 100%. Drew. Another way they can kind of utilize this film is out here in Hollywood, we have the El Capitan, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they ever do another Muppet movie of any kind, you can have Muppet Vision be like the pre-show, you know what I'm saying? And that would be kind of fun. Play it at the El Capitan for whatever run that Muppet movie is going for. So there's a lot of options here on the table. I think Disney will utilize it here and there like that for sure.
Yeah, great point. Great idea.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And before we move off of Muppets, same question that I had for Big Thunder. It says in 2026, your guys anticipated opening in 2026, early, mid, late. What say you, Drew?
I think we're looking after October 1st. I don't know. I think that this will get done sooner than people think, but I think they're going to want to kind of save this as the final push for the holidays, whereas they can get away with the rest of the park beforehand. Like the magic of Disney animation in The Mandalorian, Grogu on Smuggler's Run. Part of me even has thought about bringing back Star Wars weekends to really make a big push for Star Wars and animation combined before this opens. But yeah, this feels like an October thing for me.
Yeah, Disney's gonna wanna. We talked earlier about Disney being very strategic with their PR. They're also very strategic with ride and show and attraction openings. You don't want to kind of like, I mean, for lack of a better term, blow your whole load in one release, right? Like, so you don't want to do like every new thing in like 1 month, right? You want to be able to like drop one new thing, wait a few months. When the thing starts to wane a little bit, then you can go into like the next new thing and sustain, sustain your growth over a longer period of time. So I would agree with you, Drew. It's not going to be. We'll get the big thunder or like March-ish, like spring of 2026, and then they'll wait a little while, and then in like the fall. Or like even like the end of 2026 is when we'll start to see the Muppets, and that gives them a really solid 2026 where they have two big tent poles there that they can kind of play on and keep that momentum going all year. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah. And I do want to add this in really quick because Drew, you had mentioned like you noticed like a lot of like for kids and families, and like with Hollywood studios having less of that, and then also adding more of like with the animation studio coming back and what have you. But I just wanted to add this in here. The Cool Kids Summer will return in 2026. Disney confirmed Cool Kids Summer will return next summer, but no other details were announced and dates confirmed. But just the fact that they announced that the Cool Kids Summer is going to come back shows that it was successful in its own right.
I'm so glad.
And then to draw, more families in with younger kids, despite that, I think that they should all stay home. But, you got to appease everybody, but
it's funny. Cool Kids Summer to me is such a throwback to the 90s, like programming blocks. Like when you had like the Fox Kids and all that stuff, it reminds me of that, like some sort of like animation programming block in like the 90s. I love it. It's a throwback.
Yeah, I love Cool Kids Summer so much. It's just so perfect. Like I still have videos that I haven't shared of the characters, that how they've been roaming around the parks, and it's literally a piece of Disneyland, of Walt Disney World, but not just one park. It's at all 4 parks, and it's for months. And it's such a blast, and I have hope that it'll be even better next year. Like I think they're going to push it even more. And kind of just the fact that a lot of these things in 2026 are around kids, and if they're open by the time the Cool Kids Summer is going, well, then you could add Cool Kids Summer offerings to those things. Like you could do something in Galaxy's Edge, you could do something with Buzz, you could do something with the Magic of Disney Animation, and extend it even further. And I even think that they probably got some internal data very quickly on Animation Courtyard's replacement, or Animation Courtyard right now, and that's what made them greenlight the Magic of Disney Animation, because whenever they first announced the Magic of Disney Animation on July 22nd, they were very clear about you're going to be able to meet these characters. And what do you have right now? If you were to walk into Hollywood Studios tomorrow, you have characters in the Animation Courtyard. So it's the same DNA that we're seeing even next year permanently, which is awesome. So yeah, I think Cool Kid Summer in many ways was a test for their data, which gave them the confidence to sign off on it. Because I had heard that there was multiple concepts on the table, and this was kind of like a shock announcement. Like even people that know things didn't know this was happening, which makes me think it came together. Not necessarily like it come together quickly, but was approved a little bit quicker than some had hoped or some had expected. But I'm all for that transformation, and I'm very excited for that. And obviously, just let the kids have fun with it, making memories for the rest of their lives.
And this was a perfect time for them to beta test something like this, because with all these projects going on, nothing is officially completed yet or going to be opened within the next year or so. So 2025, 2026 is the best time to utilize something like this, because with no new things opening, it may be like a drawback, so to speak, that people are going to say, oh, you know what, we'll wait until a lot of this stuff opens, where this can entice families to bring their young kids into the parks. But I do agree with you, OG. I like the title, the Cool Kids Summer. Anytime I look at that, it reminds me of a pre-adolescent wearing the big sunglasses, wearing his hat backwards with a jukebox on his shoulder, drinking Kool-Aid. That's just like total 90s for me.
Yeah, big time.
But also right here, Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. Disney shared a new look at the ride vehicles featuring handheld blasters, new and improved interactive targets, unlimited scoring, and on-vehicle video displays. Disney didn't provide an updated opening timeline. It's still set to open at some point in 2026. What's your thought process on this? Because I feel like this was actually surprising when they announced this. Because I thought, like, I mean, it's a great ride for families. It's definitely a people eater, you know. But I thought like the Buzz Lightyear of like a Star Command was kind of like gonna, you know, they were gonna kind of move out of that, maybe put something else in there. But the fact that they're giving this a whole complete facelift with, you know, new vehicles, the fact that we could actually hold the blasters now, just like out here in Disneyland, new scenes, new targets, a new character, really shows that this ride is here to stay. But Drew, overall thoughts on Buzz Lightyear?
If anyone knows me, they know how much I love Toy Story Mania. So this is music to my ears. And whenever Scott posted that picture of "There's no more Galactic Hero," I was like, yes. Because that ride for me, just there was no challenge to it. Like, it was re-rideable and it was always fun. But getting like 2 million points, like, who's going to be the first person to ever hit 1 million? Who's going to be the first person to ever hit 2 million? Who's going to be the first person to discover what these new target values are?
We're talking to him right now.
It very well could be. I already know I'm going to probably have a whole YouTube series like learning this, because a lot of people have reacted very positively to this change, at least from my Twitter engagement. Same with Scott. Like, when he posted these pictures of the ride vehicles, it got like 3,000 likes, which I think was like the most liked tweet on that entire event, which says a lot how much people kind of have a connection to this ride. And everything here is a win. And there's something about this reimagining that no one is talking about, which is shocking to me. There's going to be new game modes for Buzz. Like, they've teased very much that it's not just going to be you're going on the ride and that's it forever. I think they're going to have special limited time overlays, maybe for the Christmas party, maybe for the Halloween party, maybe when Toy Story 5 releases in theaters, to where those interactive targets, because they're interactive now, that's a new game mode. And my thought process has been immediately going to, well, kind of like, I feel like sometimes there's video games or arcade games where a certain target is worth a certain amount of points, but it can change where it is, and you have to follow it. And if you hit it during that time where it's lighting up, you get bonus points. And I think that these interactive targets are going to allow for them to really lean into these new game modes, to where it's not just interactive targets and that's it, but really to where you kind of have multiple attractions in one. And I'm actually going to record an entire YouTube video on this tomorrow, because kind of on the angle of how they're reinvesting in these attractions, but they're not just redoing the ride. Like, they're not just improving the quality of life to where, you know, with this we're getting new ride vehicles, and, you know, at Big Thunder Mountain we're getting a new track, but you're improving the actual ride itself with new storyline of Big Thunder and the effects and the paint, and from top to bottom. And even here at Buzz, you're getting these new handheld blasters, which makes it a lot more fun for kids. Like, the kids can just hold this now, so they're going to have fun just doing whatever, right? But for us, the fact that it has multiple game modes is going to make us want to go on it more and more. And if people want to go on the ride and it has a longer wait time, well, that helps the park's capacity by putting that investment in the ride. So there's a lot more to this than just, you know, new blasters, new targets, new ride vehicles, unlimited scoring. It's essentially a brand new ride. And it's I'm going to really do a deep dive into this soon. So that'll be on my YouTube channel pretty much in the years ahead.
Now, a question for you, Drew. I want, because they didn't announce Disneyland's version getting these upgrades. Mm-hmm. For you, as a fan of the attraction, does that worry you that Disneyland's is more on the chopping block, or is it just a timing thing?
Yeah, I think that the whole Tomorrowland situation, I think that Disney is kind of thinking about, whenever we do spend this money, Buzz probably isn't a part of that plan. And I think even more so, Buzz is on the chopping block at Disneyland, because Disneyland is on a space capacity thing, right? So when you have Toy Story Mania across the way, I feel like you can get away with just having one big Toy Story attraction at Disneyland, because they don't have the space that we have. But it's more of a locals park. So putting a new attraction in that space at Disneyland makes sense from a locals perspective and from a cost-effective return on investment perspective. But again, that's just speculation. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if part of this is because, you know, maybe this will be the only Buzz ride a decade from now. So make it the absolute best version. and kind of bring in those elements like we've seen overseas in Shanghai. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's always a chance that plans change because, like, I don't think anyone was necessarily expecting Lightyear to flop last year either, and who knows what that could have changed from them going from that to this, and there's always more going on. But yeah, I think that you bring up a good point of it being a possibility that goes whenever Tomorrowland gets its money.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So more so, you would think that if they were to update and keep Buzz at Disneyland, they would have done this simultaneously.
Yeah, I think it would have already happened.
I agree.
Yeah, it just feels like, I don't know. I feel like there's certain things when I look at them at Disneyland Resort that I'm like, yeah, that could go, and people wouldn't necessarily be mad. Especially because Tomorrowland is where everyone's been wanting them to do things. So if they really do something good in that space as a part of a wider transformation and investment, I'm all for that.
Okay.
I mean, there's been rumors. I know the movie isn't doing like super hot at the box office, but Fantastic Four. There's been rumors that maybe Disneyland's Tomorrowland would get something with Fantastic Four. It could be tied to this decision where it's like that whole space will be something related to that franchise. I know that the movie isn't doing super great, but Disney might still decide, hey, we're going to move forward with it, because we also don't know the internals, right? Like, yes, the box office isn't really doing super good, but the merchandise and the meet and greet and all that stuff might be doing really, really well. So in that theme park space, it might be a huge hit. And they might still do something with that franchise. So we'll have to wait and see. But I wouldn't be surprised, though, if that might be part of what we're seeing here.
Well, and the characters of Fantastic Four are not over yet. They're still going to be implemented in Doomsday and possibly Secret Wars, which I'm for sure those are going to be banger films. And who even knows, even a sequel for Fantastic Four. So there's still going to be heavy presence of Marvel's first family, so to speak, in the studio format. So this may be the long haul that Disney will be looking at for Tomorrowland, primarily for Disneyland's Tomorrowland, obviously, because right now, east of the Mississippi River, they're still having some issues with Marvel being put into the parks of Walt Disney World. But OG, overall thoughts on the upgrade of Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin?
Yeah, it looks nice. It looks really, really nice. I love the new scoring stuff, right? With it's unlimited, right? From what I understand, that's pretty cool. So I think if you're going to keep the attraction, then take care of it and upgrade it. And I think these are great upgrades. So yeah, there's no issue there at all. So absolutely. And like Drew was saying too, it might be the only Buzz Lightyear. It might be the only one that we have. And if that's the case, make it really fantastic. Make it really pop. So
make it fantastic, you say.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at Disneyland, they probably will, literally. Fantastic Four.
And and coming to this, just like the overall for this upcoming weekend's event of Destination D23 being held at Walt Disney World, August 29th through the 31st. Drew, the Disney dude, will be on location covering all that. So definitely follow him with that on all the coverage. But basically, Scott Gustin is saying here, don't expect Disney to share more details on the announcements, that were made last week. So again, to your point, Drew, it seems like Disney is trying to kind of announce these, but kind of get them out of the way, because I guess whatever they have planned for the weekend, these announcements really didn't have no relevancy to what else is going to be announced. So that could be a good thing. Hopefully that is a good thing. But speaking of the event itself, do you guys think that, because even for the D23 Gold members, they're going to start live streaming several of the panels. It's not all of them, but the one in particular that we all were thinking of is going to happen on day 2 in the morning. The Disney villains, I believe it's called Icons of Evil, which that is not part of the roster that they're going to live stream. But why in the world would you have a complete panel presentation on the villains when we all know that Villains Land is right around the corner? So something, I think, is going to be mentioned. And I feel like that they're not live streaming that
for a reason.
Everyone who paid for an upcharge ticket price, you have to give them, because otherwise they'd say, oh, I could have watched it at home for free. You have to give the fans something why they actually purchase these tickets.
Well, and you have to remember too, in 2015 at D23, Galaxy's Edge was not announced at the Parks panel. It was announced at the Lucasfilm Studio panel. So it wouldn't be completely unusual if they drop a banger at that Villains panel, you know?
Yep.
We'll see.
Only thing I will say, though, about this Villains panel is there's a lot of Villains inspiration at the parks worldwide, and also Disney Cruise Line, to where this isn't just a Disney Villains Land panel, if that makes sense. I would say I would expect maybe 5 minutes of news about the Disney Destiny cruise ship, because that's Heroes and Villains, where we get actual reveals, and 5 minutes of Villains Land reveals. That's it. And I think that those Villains Land reveals are going to be more about how the creative team is approaching their designs. And then next year we see those big reveals, because this is still 4 years out. Right. But I think maybe 10 minutes of the 45 minutes total will be newsworthy for that panel, whereas the rest of it's going to be like Oogie Boogie Bash, Not So Scary Halloween Party, Disney Villains Show at Hollywood Studios, and more of a general approach, and then say, well, that's everything we've done. Now, what about the future? And then obviously, the plug for Disney Cruise Line and a little bit of tease of what's to come to Magic Kingdom. So, yes, it will be fun, but don't get your hopes up too much.
Now, Drew, I forgot where I read it, but I heard somewhere that Bruce Vaughn wants to sort of change the way Disney does these announcements with their concept art. They want to go with more of artwork that kind of gives a vibe as opposed to literal art. Are you hearing that too?
Yeah, that was from Lou Mangello's interview that he had, because I think it was, what are we in, end of August? It was either last month, I can't remember when it was, but it was pretty recent, where Bruce Vaughn talked to Lou Mangello, and Bruce was kind of talking about how the fans will get attached to this concept art, but their goal with that concept art is to give an idea of direction and scale rather than specifics. And even with these projects, how so much changes, where these Imagineers will even get attached to things, but it just doesn't make it to the final product. But then everything kind of works. My phone dropped. Everything kind of works out in the long run, So yeah, I mean, part of me wonders, is that a approach of we're going to do more of that, giving a vibe, or are they going to hold their cards a little bit closer to their chest until they have that final plan, to where they can really convey the final product? Kind of like what we're seeing with the Magic of Disney Animation, where it's simple, so it's kind of easy to get that perfect concept art of what the final product's going to be. But yeah, it's a very interesting kind of hearing him open up, because he's a very real leader, and there's no PR talk with Bruce. He's just Bruce, and that's the first time in as long as I can remember, if ever, where we've heard them talk about the perception of concept art and how the way that people read it as this isn't delivering, whereas that's never the goal. The goal is to say this is how big and bold and the tone we're trying to set. Wait a little bit, then we'll give you the final look. So yeah, that's why I'm not expecting anything major, more just kind of is this going to be a truly ominous land? Is this going to be darker? Is this going to be something new for Magic Kingdom, where, hey, maybe your kids aren't going to like this as much, and that's why we have Cars Next Door? It'll be very interesting to see who is on stage and what they talk about, because we might even get Imagineers confirmed to be on Villains Land from this, just with them walking out. That's their connection to the project, which for us, that's big, because knowing who's working on it is massive. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm keeping my expectations in line.
Yeah,
no,
100%.
Drew, I want to ask you, because OG and I were having a little bit of a conversation over the weekend, but we didn't really dive into it. We were looking at the the roster of how things are set up with the schedule for Destination D23, and we both noticed that they utilize different locations of the world for certain segments. Like they mentioned France, they mentioned Japan, they mentioned China, which obviously, when you kind of look at it, okay, that's when they're going to maybe make park announcements for France, for Disneyland Paris, Japan for Tokyo Disneyland, and China for Shanghai Disney and Hong Kong Disney. But then there was a segment that mentions India, which was kind of interesting. And OG recently did a show on Orange Grove 55 with Zach from Boardwalk Times, and they were mentioning, could that possibly be a location for Disney Cruise Line? Unfortunately, I couldn't join them. just because like with the schedule and everything.
How dare you?
Yeah, but
Unacceptable, George. Unacceptable.
I know, especially Zach. Zach's like a class act of a human, man. Come on, come on.
but I was thinking that could this potentially be an announcement for like a future pavilion at Epcot?
I don't think we're going to get anything from these little 5-minute things. I feel like that's kind of like a hot take because everyone's kind of like around the world and that could tie into the parks, which, yeah, it could. But I feel like because there's no parks panel and expectations have already been lowered because of that, I'm kind of expecting these to be 5-minute pre-recorded, pre-edited sizzle reels just to fill time as they're setting up for the next presentation or panel. I'm not expecting anything from them. I could be wrong. Like, maybe they're talking about how these countries connect to the experiences around the world, and one of those experiences could be something at the parks. So they drop a little teaser, a piece of concept art or something. But I'm kind of expecting them kind of just to be, hey, if you need to go to the bathroom or grab a water or a snack, this is playing and it's just going to be there. Whereas we might get some little surprises or updates from the other more parks experiences panels. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I'm not expecting anything from those personally.
Okay. That would make sense because, I mean, I've been to many Destination Ds, and I know that they like to throw in like little kind of like infomercial things, like just like in between, just like for people to do bathroom breaks. I didn't really think of that. I didn't really put two and two together. But
I would be surprised if it's anything more than like Adventures by Disney. You know, maybe they're announcing a new India excursion. I don't know. I feel like you said, they can very easily connect it to how the company makes their money and archives, like Walt Disney Archives, previous movies, previous experiences, Adventures by Disney. That's my thought process there.
Okay. And coming down here, Scott actually gives some of his own predictions of what he is expected for the event. I'm not going to read it like word for word, but just like as ideas like new concept art for Tropical Americas, including possibly another look for Indiana Jones. First look at the second attraction plan for Piston Peak, which is the Cars area. For Disneyland, updates are usually like limited, but maybe even for like updates on Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Lab. This one, interesting. Could we possibly hear when finally Bluey is coming to the parks and cruise line, because Disney officially made that announcement? I could imagine what the wait time is going to be for a Bluey movie, because they beta tested that at the last big D23 fan event, and like people just like went gaga over her. So that's going to be interesting. I have a feeling like for Walt Disney World, I feel like Bluey's going to end up going into like the animation area in Hollywood Studios, and then possibly in the animation building off of Hollywoodland. Depending on how far back they go for Avatar, it's hard to say for that one. And then also to the Disney Cruise Line, maybe the fourth Wish class ship will be announced with its name and what have you. And then, as you had mentioned, Drew, more info on the Disney Destiny. But that's like some of Scott's predictions. So I asked you fellas, final thoughts on what you feel like is going to be announced, brought up, especially because all this stuff is out of the way. Even if it's like far-fetched, like what could possibly be announced at this, especially since they moved it to a bigger venue and added more tickets.
I think what Scott lays out here, I think really solid. I would agree that a lot of the stuff that he's laying out here is definitely on the table. The Villains Land news, I think as well. Outside of that though, I mean, I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of park stuff. I'm trying to like set my expectations because I think this isn't D23. And I feel like the parks aren't going to be like the main focus with this one for some reason, but there is a possibility. I mean, this is more of like a long shot, but India has been kind of, talked about in terms of like replacing Morocco at Epcot. I mean, that would be kind of cool if they did announce something like that in that little 5-minute thing. It's unlikely, but it would be kind of dope to see Epcot get some love like that. But outside of that, I think what he laid out is pretty much what we're going to get with the addition of the Villains Land. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I
For
think
parks.
for me personally, the panel I am most curious in is the whole castles panel, because we know there's a new castle coming to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
We know there's a castle that was teased for Villains Land. We know that the castles are going to be in this new digital Fortnite universe. We know that there's been rumors and speculation about Cinderella Castle being repainted out here at Walt Disney World back to its classic white and the bricks and all that. The dream lights for Christmas. And they said that there's surprises beyond the spires. So my mind is going to what could be connected to a Disney castle. Not specifically maybe the major castles, but what's beyond that they could drop here. And that's why I'm really curious in that panel, because I don't know, I feel like that's a very fun thing for D23, like talking about the castles and how iconic they are, and how we're kind of going into this new realm with Abu Dhabi, and it's not really a castle, but it has that castle feel, like it's that prominent icon of the park. And it's only 30 minutes, but I don't know, even if just 5-6 minutes of it is talked about like cool stuff. I'm really curious on that one, and that one's being live streamed for the D23 Gold members. So part of me feels like nothing's coming at that because it's being streamed, but part of me feels like because it's being streamed, they could be talking about something, and maybe that's the one announcement that they got the approval for to share publicly with everyone, is like the one thing that we can share where our Gold members can watch this. It's interesting, and there are things to be excited for that I know are coming, but I don't know what they are. Like, I know that there's going to be some fun things that we're going to be really excited about. Not like a new ride, just like an update or a little shock surprise. Nothing like a new ride by any means, but something that like we will love as parks fans or cruise line fans or anything under the experiences segment. But I have no clue what those are. So what I'm speculating, it is honest to God speculation. But we'll see. I mean, it's only a few days out at this point, and there's some more things like around this than just this event. Like there's the whole Goofy movie thing, and there's the night at Typhoon Lagoon, and there's Not So Scary and the Beacon Barrel, and they're gonna do like a whole like roundup of the recent things, as well as these little extra events here and there as a part of D23. So yes, the panels and the presentations are always fun, but I think the atmosphere and energy of a D23 is always a thing that people look forward to being here for.
Well said, Drew. Well said. And the castle one, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm actually very, very curious. And I don't know if we're going to get it either, but because it is kind of new, the Abu Dhabi announcement.
Yeah.
But that park is supposed to be primarily indoors. I mean, maybe not the whole thing, but a lot of it will be indoors. I'm wondering how they're going to handle that new Crystal Castle. Is it going to be, because look, Disney likes to do a lot of these like grand reveals, right? Where it's like you go through the tunnel and you come out the other end and and even Universal kind of does that with Epic Universe, right? It'd be kind of crazy, right? To have like the build up, the lead up to the Crystal Castle to be like some sort of like covered tunnel or something. And you don't even see it until you get to the outside. And then when you exit the tunnel, you get hit with this beautiful crystal castle, right? Like something totally different, totally unique. If they have any kind of like plans that they can share with us in regards to how they're going to handle an indoor park with the huge castle like that, I would love to see that on that panel, because I'm very curious how they kind of maneuver that logistically. I mean, I don't think that putting the castle in a building would have the same impact. I think that it still has to be outside if possible. Absolutely. But we'll see,
I feel like that the castle, like they have that grand reveal. Go through a tunnel, boom, you're still outside, and you see the grand reveal of the castle. And then maybe when you enter the castle, maybe the castle is the entranceway into the actual whole indoor facility of the park itself. So once you pass through the castle, you don't necessarily see the castle again until you're ready to exit out, outside of the realm of the park.
Yeah, and how I'm also very interested in how they connect the water to this theme park, because it's sitting on Yas Island and it's right on that edge. And like, are they going to have the castle on the edge to where it's kind of the back of the park? Or, George, like you said, is it going to be more middle to where you could have buildings surrounding it? It's going to be fascinating to see this park develop. And I feel like in a couple of years from now, we're going to be seeing dedicated hour-long presentations just about Abu Dhabi. Like that big. And when they have an unlimited budget, essentially, that they're going to be touting how incredible this is because they can do whatever they want.
Absolutely. Do you think that the next big D23 that's going to happen next year, do you think for the park's panel, they will just have one whole segment of Abu Dhabi, or do you feel like that would come more of 2028?
I think it'll be next year because it's been like 2 months, 3 months since it got announced, and that would be a year from now. So they'd probably be within a few months of finishing their plans by next D23. And I feel like they could do some reveals at that point, like that are locked in. Not to like having a model done yet, but to really talk about the direction they're headed in with IP and originality. Originality in the sense of if they're using IPs over there that we have here, it's going to be a completely new ride, like Frozen over in Tokyo, for example. That'd be the perfect time to announce an Aladdin ride. I mean, come on, how do you not do Aladdin, right? And I think we'll see a model probably in 2027 at that point. If we got a model for, I don't know, I mean, they could reveal the model before D23 in 2028, maybe like a massive media thing or a Destination D23 here if it's big enough by then. But yeah, the model would be done at that point in an off year for D23 Expo, unless they do back-to-back D23 Expos in Anaheim, which always is a possibility with how big it's getting at this point. Part of me's always wondered if they're just going to drop Destination D one day and just always go Anaheim route, because if you have a demand, you can make the money. Why not? But yeah, it'll be fun. I'm very excited for that park because it's going to be unlike anything we've ever seen from a budgetary standpoint, and that means all the technology and storytelling is going to be bonkers.
It's gonna be crazy, and we don't have that 5-year clause like with Tokyo, right? So they can bring that over here real quick. George, real quick, I want to bring up one thing to you guys before we kind of move on to the next thing. Obviously, the Abu Dhabi situation, the weather, it's very sunny, very hot over there. I'm very curious, and I'm sure they've thought about this, but I'm very curious how we're going to have a crystal castle out there in the sun without it like blinding people, because that thing's going to be beaten down on that thing, and it's going to be reflecting like crazy, I would imagine. Yep. I wonder how that's going to work, right? I mean, that's going to be kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah, and that could even determine like the layout of the park, because if your castle has to be positioned at a certain angle to where the sun doesn't hit it, well, that could affect everything else around it. So that's a very good point. But yeah, these are the things that I wish that they would talk about more. I just hope everything's being filmed. Like, Imagineering is entering a new era, and this park is coming alongside that era, and we're seeing more of a content personal angle. So starting that from day one on Abu Dhabi is my hope, to where we get season 2 of the Imagineering story, maybe 5 years from now, and we can kind of see this whole story of all this 5 years. I think 2 more seasons of Imagineering story over the next decade is my hope, with these last 5 years.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I love that documentary series. It definitely needs a couple more seasons at best. I do also love the fact that Tom Morrow is back. I always loved that character from the early 2000 Zoo Disney channel. Wow, I just completely dated myself. But I love how they're kind of going back to the Disney roots of how things were, with originality and classic, and utilizing that history to bring it into the present time.
Gotta wake myself up.
Yeah. Do you fellas think that because with Destination D23 that it's talking about world, do you think that we'll get announcements from the other parks internationally? Do you think we'll hear anything from the Tokyo with the Tokyo Disney Sea change, and that they're going to remove a lot of Adventureland for more Incredibles, Moana, and Up? Do you think it's a little bit too early on? Do you think they'll save that more for the bigger D23, or do you think we might get some little trickles of smaller information on that?
I would be surprised if we get big details for Tokyo until 2028, quite honestly. Because they said that stuff was going to be after 2030, which it could be 2033 by the time it opens. But at some point, we have to get details for the Wreck-It Ralph ride and Space Mountain. I just don't think it'll come here. I think that'll be a Disney Parks blog drop or a Tokyo Disney press release for their fiscal quarters. Because Tokyo has no obligation to do anything under the Disney Experiences strategy, because they're funding it, so they can do whatever they want. And that's why I kind of feel like we see these random announcements at 8 a.m. Eastern time on random Monday, because it's dropped overnight for us, and then it just is there. So I mean, if you think about like the Adventureland thing and like their cruise ship, it just came out of left field. It just spawned in basically. So
True.
I think if we get anything, it will be for the domestic parks, and it'll be kind of like a smaller surprise here or there, and just some minor updates, maybe some concept art. But I'll take it. I love new concept art and diving into it.
Yeah, 100%. And Drew, you bring up an interesting point too with when you were saying like, are they going to do Destination D or just kind of fold it into D23? Like, is there a need for it? Like, do we need a Walt Disney World centric event, or can you just take that and fold it into the bigger overall D23? Right? I mean,
my hope is that they take the Star Wars celebration route and just drop Destination D, but bring D23 Expo to Florida on a little bit of a smaller scale. Like Wild World of Sports could host a D23 Expo, in my opinion. I don't see why that would be a problem. Like Wild World of Sports has so much space that I feel like they could do it. The only thing with Wild World of Sports is like transportation. It's a little disjointed from everything else. But I don't know, like when I think of Star Wars Celebration and how they go to like Tokyo and they go to Chicago and LA and Florida, it allows for Star Wars fans around the world to have that experience, and you never really know where it's going to be. And I love that you have a D23 always in Anaheim. It's just so classic around Disneyland, and I think people want to go to Disneyland as a part of that event. Even me last year when I saw you guys, like I was excited to go to Disneyland. So I hope that you always have a D23 Expo in California every other year. That's its home base. But I feel like if this D23 is a success from a financial standpoint with how much merchandise they sell, and it already sold out, so that's a great first step, just to turn it into D23 Expo. And like technically you could do D23 Expo because technically D23 Expo turned into the ultimate Disney fan event. So
right.
You could bring back the D23 Expo name to Florida maybe on a little bit of a smaller scale, and that would be a way to do the parks announcements and studio announcements, because then it's no longer a destination event, it's a D23 Expo event. I just feel like D23 is expanding so much, like why not? And when everyone's doing everything, like there's billions being pumped into the movies with the studios, there's billions being pumped into the parks. We're even seeing Disney expand into video games even more than ever with Fortnite. Why not?
Yeah. No, well said. I love that idea. Actually, I think that's the way to go. To be honest with you, I think they should go in that route.
Now, at the last Destination D23, that's when they dropped the official dates for the D23 Ultimate Fan Event, which was last year. Do you see them repeating that pattern where we will get the official dates for D23 2026?
Yeah, I think so. Even to the point that like our little media schedule that they sent us, we're having like a lunch with, I think, Michael Vargo, who's like the head of D23. So I'm wondering if they're even going to announce like little updates for D23 as a whole there. But to your point, last Destination D23, it was at that first welcome at the very beginning of the event. And that's where they said, hey, yeah, it's coming back, and it's our biggest Ultimate Fan event ever. So I hope that they do it in front of the crowd, and that's not for a media exclusive thing. Like, I understand that it's a privilege to do media stuff, and I don't want that to be told to us exclusively. I want that to be on stage because that deserves its own spotlight. But yeah, it feels inevitable, and I feel like that's a perfect way to start the week. Just say like, hey, you guys are here now. We haven't showed you anything, and we're already going to be back next year better than ever. So why not?
That's great. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. So our last topic for today, which was one of the more recent ones that actually just dropped, and this is courtesy of someone called Drew Smith. I don't know who this guy is, but I don't know. I think he's pretty relevant. I think so. We'll go with his. But so
looks like Ed Sheeran.
Yeah. But so more news had dropped for the Coco boat ride coming out here to DCA, and this is courtesy of Drew, the Disney dude. Walt Disney Imagineering teases major elements for the Coco attraction coming to Disney California Adventure. Characters appearing in the attraction.
It looks so stupid out of context, but I'll explain why I said characters appearing.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll explain it.
That's why I brought yours up, so that way you can kind of feed off to, like, because obviously with a post you have to shorthand everything. So
yeah, exactly.
The Pepper's Ghost effect, which I think that would be awesome, honestly, with Coco. Audio animatronic developments, animation, marquette sheets, sculpted, like, so everything that I guess that would go with the animatronics. I hope I'm pronouncing the name Pepita. Is that how you the audio animatronic scale? That would blow me away, to the fact of that they're actually going to have an audio animatronic of that thing. Like I could imagine. And and then you have some other things here like the vehicle estimates, concept,
Breaking news.
everything. So Drew, I'll start with you. Can you elaborate on everything that you have here and your overall thoughts of like how this attraction is going to end up turning out in the end?
Yeah, it's funny. Like after I posted this, I realized how stupid it looks, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Coco characters are appearing in the ride! Wow, what a surprise!" I'm like, guys, like again, I'm just when I'm saying like characters are appearing, it's because there's like if you click to the right, George, and go to the next photo, I took screenshots from the little Imagineer that, but like if you zoom in on the notes in the background, those notes are together because those are the characters appearing, I think, in each scene. And like you can see, it says like Abuela, Mom, Dad, and Miguel. So maybe earlier on in the ride, that's where we see them, and that's kind of like setting up the story. And then in the background of this one, you can see it says Advanced Figure Development, and it shows these clips are from last October. It said October 2nd on one of the computers, but how they're last October they were already thinking about doing sculpts for these figures and trying to nail their likeness in person, and discipline level inputs for concept estimates. Like they're already trying to get budget estimates a year before they break ground. Almost, it's crazy. And then something that someone pointed out in the comments, which I thought was interesting, was it says LSM quantity and cabinet quantity, and LSM is used in the Pirates of the Caribbean over in Shanghai. So I'm almost wondering if a solution to the space constraints next to Incredicoaster is going to be by having these vehicles rotate to where you can have smaller show scenes, but the boats slow down to tell a 5-6 minute long story in a smaller show building. So like, yes, it looks stupid when it says characters appearing. It's like, yeah, no shit, Miguel's going to be in the ride. But when you can kind of see which characters are together and they're looking at maybe a Pepper's Ghost effect with some of these characters, like maybe Mama Coco or Ernesto, and that some of them are going to be appearing multiple times. Like that's why I posted this, because it's rare to kind of get photos inside of the office where they're brainstorming ideas and concepts. And that's why I said teases, is because they're teasing these elements and things can change, as this was last October. It's not current. They're showing us now. So yeah, I feel like it's always fun for me to highlight these little things, even if it looks stupid, you know.
No, I love what you do. I love what you did here. And honestly, I like that idea of utilizing technology in the space constraint, because it does seem like they are tight over there where they're putting this thing, and they might be using, like you were saying, different technology with these boats like Shanghai, where they can turn these boats and they can kind of maximize the smaller footprint. Disneyland is really good. Disneyland Resort has been really good, almost legendary with their space utilization. Like the whole reason why Indiana Jones has like the most epic queue ever is because it had to get under the berm, right? But it worked so beautifully creatively. And the whole stretching room in Haunted Mansion is for that same reason. So Disney has, I mean, even the fact that we didn't really lose anything for Galaxy's Edge or Mickey Minis. I mean, they've really maximized every square inch, right? So it wouldn't shock me, Drew, if like they are going to utilize some sort of new technology, maybe the Shanghai, maybe something else, where it gives them more flexibility to make a more fleshed out experience in a smaller show building, right? So. I hope so. I really, really do. Because that's my biggest question is how are they going to fit all this? It seems like a lot of ambition, which I love. DCA needs more ambition, right? And it needs a family ride like this. But how is it going to fit? It's just, I don't know. Maybe the technology is the solution possibly. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, like right out the gate, when Demaro said that this ride was going to be, on par with Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion, but of course in a much more up-to-date technological advancement, it's like, yeah, well, okay, that's awesome, but then when they're dropping the possible location of this, and it's like, okay, well, you're giving us something this big, this grand, but you're going to kind of shoehorn it into this kind of tight, crammed area. Like, how does the two of those things come together? How does it collide? And that would make sense, that if they do utilize a lot of the technology that was used for the Shanghai Pirates, and as you both were mentioning, like utilizing the space as much as you can, where you can kind of fit everything into a small court, kind of movement where you may only move the boat so far along the building, but if you keep on rotating it to different show scenes, could we even possibly even see like a rotating table of the show scenes themselves?
Yeah, that's
So
my
if
hope.
the boat's moving, then the show scenes are moving along with it.
Right. It could be. It absolutely could be. You know, in the Frozen ride in Tokyo, there's the door scene.
Yeah.
Where the door rotates, right?
Mhm.
You can kind of utilize cool little dark ride tricks like that where the buildings shift and change as you go through these scenes and they turn into something else. That would be pretty freaking dope. So we'll see.
And that would be the perfect way to extend like a musical performance in this ride by having the boat rotate and follow a character. Because like the animatronic would be stationary, but if it's on a turntable and you're looking right at that figure, well, it's not taking up a lot of space because it's just a circle in the building, but you're following that character throughout a scene for maybe 30 seconds or a minute with the music from this attraction. It would be absolutely brilliant. And that would really make sense into investing into these animatronics because the guest is focused on it for a long time. Like Josh says, this skeletal cast, I think were his exact words. So I don't know, LSM quantity. Well, I saw it when I posted it. My mind didn't go to Shanghai until I saw that comment. So yeah, I guess me posting it did lead to a potential discovery. But yeah, I know it looks silly, but it's
Hey, but you know what? It may look silly like to the norms, but us as the nerds and the geeks, we like to dive deep into that stuff and like really depict of like how that can essentially become something.
Yeah.
And all the negativity naysayers are saying, oh, like, wow, whoop-de-doo, like these words, like what do we care? Then they'll actually go on the attraction. It's like, well, this was what I was talking about,
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, a lot of people lack imagination, and they see stuff and they're very limited. It was just surprising as Disney fans, right? But a surprisingly big number of Disney fans don't have a lot of imagination. And that's what I love about you, Drew, is that you deep dive into this stuff in a creative way and you're like solution based, you're trying to figure this out. I love that, man. And I think that's smart. I think that there is a lot of stuff here that we don't know. Yeah, we could look at the footprint and go, yeah, it's small, but the Imagineers are a smart bunch. They're going to figure something out to really get this to work. So I'm very optimistic. It's like that Zootopia thing we talked about at the front of the show. Like that live stream context was freaking perfect for that. Like they completely circumvented the problem of it being in the tree, right? So I'm confident. I think this is gonna be dope. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see like how they incorporate the Pepper's Ghost effect into it, which it would fit perfectly with this kind of storyline and characters. And then the Pepita audio animatronic. Like, I don't know how they're going to format it, like in what way, but I mean, I want that sucker as big as Kong.
Yeah, if you I think it's on the next slide if you go to the photo, because like I want people to see like what my thought process was. Go to the go to the next one. You can see. No, go back. Sorry, I think it's on the last one. It shows Pepita's scale right under advanced figure development, which is why I put it as an audio animatronic. It's in there's like the yellow sheets. It's the third one down right above media. And it says Pepita scale, and that's under figure. So that together is, to me, that means that it's going to be an animatronic, right? And part of me wonders, like, is Pepita going to be in scene 5 or 7? Because that's together, it's the same sheet of paper. Like, there's a lot of possibilities here, and like we don't know what scene 5 or 7 is going to be. But if this ride opens and Pepita's in scene 5 or 7, I'll be like, I told y'all so.
That's awesome.
And again, going back to like nerding out, it's like it's the key words that count. Like obviously, people could just say, "Oh, Pepita. Oh, it's probably going to be on a screen." Well, it's like, well, look at the word.
It's under figure development, yeah.
Yeah, it's under figure development and scale. You're not going to worry about a scale format if it's on a screen. So and the fact that they're even using the term scale, that means okay, it's going to be
big. Yeah,
and all a circumference and all that.
Well, and Disney really does like to have like usually like 1 or 2 things in new attractions that they can kind of tout, and like one big thing. I remember when we got the Little Mermaid attraction, they were really touting the Ursula figure and stuff like that, right? So they like to tout like, and for the Na'vi River Journey, it was the shaman, right? So I could see Pepita being that thing that Imagineering and Disney comes out and really touts for this particular attraction, you know? So
Yeah.
it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, and it's just interesting. Like just the one piece of concept art. Really, that's all we got is like one piece of concept art on the interior, and then one on the exterior of where the entrance is. But then they dropped all this kind of like inner skeletal kind of stuff of what the ride is going to be, and I'm excited even just with that alone. And again, that's just the nerd in me.
Well, and real quick too, you know, we were talking about predictions for Destination D23. Remember, this thing is starting construction early. So that's a possibility too. We might hear some news on this, right?
I think as they're talking, I think it's Don Hahn and Leslie Iwerks who are hosting that Disneyland 70th panel, but I think they're going to talk about Coco. I think they're really going to focus on DCA for like 5 minutes, and they'll drop something for Coco. They'll drop something for Pandora. They'll drop something for for Avengers. I think they're going to do something there, and I think that we're going to get like 5 minutes of tease for the future. But I don't know. It almost seems like that they used that footage in Imagineer that almost because they're going to reveal something coming up. Like, I don't know. I feel like there could, because like that, again, that footage was recorded in October. They chose that B-roll for a reason. And if they're going to be revealing something, then it's not as big of a deal to show now if it's going to be revealed in a few days, you know? So we'll see.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll find out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Drew, OG, always a pleasure having you on. Drew, thank you so much for coming on. Your first time on
Let's do it.
It's awesome always having you on and us diving deep in all, you know, of Disney with the parks and everything. So always glad to have you, and we'll definitely have you back on soon. But if you would like to let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, you guys can pretty much find me everywhere at this point. Though I will say, if you actually like me as a person and you're interested in following me, please follow me on Facebook, because there is a ton of misinformation on Facebook, and I don't have a following on Facebook to help stop that yet. So Facebook is where I'd say I really want support right now, is because if I can start building a following on Facebook to get actual facts and these deep dives out there, that would be my main hope. I'm fortunate to already have a following on Twitter and YouTube. Like I already have that path to grow exponentially at this point, but Facebook's where I really want to start to grow more.
There it is.
Awesome. And OG, always a pleasure having you on, sir. If you want to let everyone know where they can find you on social media. Yeah,
you can find me right here on YouTube at Orange Grove 55, talking theme parks. We do studio. We even get nerdy with all the financials. We break down those financial earnings calls with Seymour Duck, right? Really fun stuff. Recent show we had on with Zach from Boardwalk Times. It was really fun, all about Destination D23 if you want to check that out. That was just from a few days ago. But yeah, YouTube, Orange Grove 55. You can also find me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
Awesome. And everyone watching, please comment down below your thoughts, your opinions, your ideas. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? We only ask, just please keep it civil in the comments. And I'm George, the Disney Italiano. And as I always say in Disney Italiano fashion, stay safe, stay healthy, stay Disney. Italiano out.
Now, real quick, George, before you go, keep it civil. I mean, what was that supposed to mean? Tough guy, huh? Not kidding. Tough guy, huh? Not just kidding.